الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله الذي أعطى كل شيء خلقه ثم هدى. الحمد لله الذي شرح صدور أهل الإسلام بالهدى ونكت في قلوب أهل الطغيان فلا تعي الحكمة أبدا. وأشهد أنه لا إله إلا هو وحده لا شريك له إلها واحدا فردا صمدا لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا. وأشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أكرمه عبدا وسيدا وأطهره مضجعا ومولدا وأبهره صدرا وموردا. صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه صلاة وسلاما دائمين إلى أن يبعث الناس غدا. أما بعد، فيقول الله تبارك وتعالى: يا أيها الناس إن وعد الله حق فلا تغرنكم الحياة الدنيا ولا يغرنكم بالله الغرور. وقال النبي صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم: الدنيا سجن المؤمن وجنة الكافر. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: الدنيا حلوة خضرة يأكل منها البر والفاجر. Dear brothers and sisters, we start by praising Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. We praise Him, we praise His every name, His every attribute. We ask Him of His immense mercy, His fadl, His grace on the blessed day of Jumu'ah. We ask Him that He never deprive us from coming to the Masjid on this blessed day, and that He always join us. We send salutations upon His beloved Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, His most beloved of creation and His most beloved of nation, the Ummah Muhammadiyah. May Allah's grace be upon all of them. Dear brothers and sisters, when speaking of the creation of the human being, Allah Ta'ala told us of the insight of what we are composed of. He gave us insight to our creation, which no one else can give you. Not a scientist, not a philosopher, not a doctor, not anyone. Insight directly from the Creator. When the Creator creates, if a Creator creates, He has to have the knowledge of His creation, otherwise how can He create? So you're being given knowledge from the Creator of what the creation is. Allah created the human being from dirt and from water. Allah created the human being of a composition of dirt and water. This human being, when the dirt and that water mixes together, grows. He wants to grow. You throw water in the soil, you have the seeds that are planted, and things grow. The human being has a natural, innate nature that he wants to grow. He wants to grow. And he sees his free will that Allah has given him. A level of free will that Allah has given him, ikhtiyar. And so he sees that free will. And then that free will pushes him, that rise, progress. That's why the human being psychologically cannot settle. He always wants to progress. He goes into depression if he doesn't. The human wants to grow. But then what happens? His governance tells him grow. But the inevitable governance of the law above him, what is superior, the governance and hukuma of Allah, tells him that stay in your place. So many times the human being chases after things. If the human being had the power to gain everything he wished, he would never lose anything he wanted. But how many things right in the middle of our hands, we don't get them. We want them, we can't have them. Because there's another law and another governance, a pen which has written the decree, which is governing the world. And so then to feel fulfillment within this world, right? To gain fulfillment and to cope with that situation, which is having a level of power, but then a level of being governed, a level of freedom and liberation, but a level of being a slave and a servant as well to the system. And you cannot go beyond that system. It takes understanding. It takes understanding. And it takes the capacity of absorbing the complete picture and purpose and reason why Allah created us. Right? And that only happens when a person believes in what Allah had guided him to believe in, and a great part of that being belief in the hereafter. Right? You have to believe in Allah, you believe in His messengers, and you have to believe in the hereafter. And you have to believe in these things. I remember a scholar, when he started a course on belief and faith, he said that my goal in this course is that everyone believes in the articles of their faith the same way they believe in 1 + 1 = 2. Right? There's a natural materialistic philosophy which has taken over the minds of human beings. Until something isn't materialistically proven, then they don't believe in it. So this is why we believe in the hereafter. Because Allah created this world. And then He created it with purpose, not without purpose. Otherwise, why would He place the human being in it? And then He placed the human being. And then He gave that human being reason. And Imam Fakhruddin Razi rahimahullah uses this every step to prove why the hereafter is true and why it must be believed in. He gave that human being reason. Then He didn't leave that human being bewildered, alone. He guided the human being toward the reason, sending to him revelation, sending to him prophets that understand now your reason to these guidelines. And so then if there is guidance, then obviously there's something you should be doing, there's something that you should not be doing. And what dictates that there should be something right and that there should be something wrong? That the consequences of those actions also be there. That there be reward and there be punishment. Right? Law is, to a great degree, laws are decided by this factor. You look at the crime, you gauge according to it the punishment. Right? So you have actions followed by consequences. You have this world in which you write, and in the next world which those actions are printed. You have this world, the test, and the next world, the result of that action. So the next world cannot be left alone from this world. This is why the Rasul ﷺ said that the dunya is a cage. The dunya is a cage for the believer. Right? We carry that basic understanding. It's a cage for a believer because there are things I want to do but they're impermissible. There are things I wish I could have done but Allah said no. There's that understanding, which is one interpretation. And it's a garden of paradise for the disbeliever because he has no governance. He does as he wishes. His governance is his desire. His God is his desire. But there's another meaning as well, which is that this world is a cage for that person because he's understood what's beyond it. It's a cage because he knows what's beyond it is eternal, this world is temporary. Because this world consists of time and space. And the Prophet introduced to us eternity. You're left mind-boggled when physicists speak about parallel dimensions. The Prophet introduced to you eternity, never-ending time, the hereafter. And so when this believer now acknowledges this, for him this world becomes so small. It becomes a cage. But the disbeliever, for him it's everything. He lives to quench the thirst of this world. And so then when one believes in the hereafter, and the objective of the hereafter, then he develops an opinion, an attitude of patience, of endurance, an attitude which will guide him how he must act in this world for the hereafter. So the hereafter guides and dictates how you will act in this world. Your worldviews are based on the platform of the hereafter. What he or she wants for themselves in the hereafter. And then the believers, they believe that the hereafter is when all actions will be judged. So there's no sacred redemption. There's no person who sacrificed themselves for you and that you will enter because you are entitled to Jannah. No. You will be questioned. You will be taken to account. And that develops within the person the capacity to question his actions. Why am I doing what I'm doing? To take account of himself. It develops that opinion. And so Allah Ta'ala speaks of the resurrection within the Quran. And He says, in front of your eyes, that the dead in the barren earth, أَحْيَيْنَاهَا وَأَخْرَجْنَا مِنْهَا حَبًّا فَمِنْهُ يَأْكُلُونَ. That we resurrect that earth in front of you, the same dirt and water which you're composed of. We resurrect that in front of you as a sign of the resurrection. And so that you can see these signs and you develop within yourself the belief of the hereafter, which will guide you to tackle situations in a way different than those who don't believe in the hereafter. Right? So the other purposes of the hereafter being, Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran, أَمْ حَسِبَ الَّذِينَ اجْتَرَحُوا السَّيِّئَاتِ أَن نَجْعَلَهُمْ كَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ سَوَاءً. That you were created and you were placed in this world, and that there are people that do evil, there are people that do good. Is it possible that this world will just come to an end, that no one will be taken to account, and that the one who does good and the one who does evil, he's made even, they're made even on one platform? Allah Ta'ala will judge them. This is why there is a hereafter. Justice may not take place in this world. Your rulers may be tyrants in this world, but in the hereafter the balances will be set. Justice will be established. This is why there is the hereafter. And so this is why also we believe in it, because it positions us in a place to judge by then how we must act in this world, and how a person must face the inevitable, which is death. Death being the door to that hereafter. How is a person supposed to deal with death? When Allah Ta'ala speaks of the disbelievers, He says, كَمَا يَئِسُ الْكُفَّارُ مِنْ أَصْحَابِ الْقُبُورِ. That the disbelievers, when they see the circumstances of the people of the graves, the dead, there's an attitude that they have which is, they're hopeless. They don't carry hope. There's no hope for them, because they don't believe in a life after. To them death is the end. Whereas the believers say, practice and act for what is after death, for the life after death. For them this is a paradox. Death is the end. Death is the absence of life. How can you say life after death? But that's why the Muslim definition of death is not the absence of life. The Muslim definition of death is intiqal, a transferal from one form of life to another. تغير من حال إلى حال, to change from one condition to another condition. And so the disbelievers, they might lose hope. They lose hope from negativity. They lose hope from failure. But the Muslim knows that after failure, after death, after the negative situations, when he prompts himself with endurance, with patience, and acts according to the laws of Allah, that Allah will recompense him. Because we believe in the hereafter, Darul Jaza, a day of recompense. A day of recompense. And you'll see this in the life of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. They believed in the hereafter like they could see it. And these aren't tales. They're not fictional stories that we're told of. The human being from Adam to the last of his children, alayhi salatu wasalam, they're all by essence the same. Their circumstances may change, the time they live in may change. The heart that they possess is the same. The fears that enter those hearts are the same. The happiness which enters and constructs that heart is the same. It's the same heart. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they saw death with joy. They saw it eye to eye. They looked into it eye to eye. And then we'll question, why does the Khatib speak about death? Why does he speak about the hereafter? Because this is what the Rasul came to teach. He came to teach how to act within the economy. He came to teach how to deal with one another. To some degree he taught us medicine. He taught us of the matters of this dunya. But even then, the matters of this dunya to construct your hereafter. He taught us the matters of this dunya to think of them on the platform of the hereafter. Not for the dunya alone. Not like the pagans, the way they may disbelieve. And not like this cancerous disease of atheism which has come upon people telling them, مَا هِيَ إِلَّا حَيَاتُنَا الدُّنْيَا, which the Quraysh themselves also said, that is just one life. يُحْيِي الْعِظَامَ وَهِيَ رَمِيمٌ. Who is going to give life to bones which have decayed? These were refutations raised much before. Allah Ta'ala sent the prophets to answer this. So the Sahaba radiallahu anhum embedded within themselves this belief of the hereafter being in front of them. And having taken, even there being that level of fear towards death, they understood that it's just a moment. Allah Ta'ala said, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Every soul shall taste death. It's a moment, but it's what's after it. That you desire to see Allah, that you desire to be with Allah, that you desire that Allah reward you, and then Allah fulfill the scales which He has placed for you. It is narrated by Imam Muslim rahimahullah that during the battle of Badr, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to the companions, come towards the battle. Come towards the battle, which is the garden of paradise. The garden which it's so vast that it encompasses the skies and the earth. They weren't seeing battle. They were seeing in front of them gardens of paradise. When the companions would see their prayer, when the companions would see their zakah, when the companions would see their sacrifice, they didn't see the input to see the output in this world. This is the difference. They didn't want the output in this world. They wanted it in the hereafter. They didn't want the reward in this world. They wanted it in the hereafter. Upon this, one of the Ansar, he said to the Rasul, Bakh, that what a pleasurable thing you are calling us towards. And he took dates out of his pocket and he threw them to the ground out of the extreme joy which he had. And he said, my life is too long. My life is too long if I'm able to finish and eat these dates. And he ran in the path of Allah and he was martyred in the path of Allah. They were human beings. Don't think that the fear that could have come upon them as well of death, right, to face death, but it's the understanding of death which they had, which changed their approach of life, which navigated the way they lived, navigated their purpose. If you look at the Battle of Mu'tah, you'll see this. The Battle of Mu'tah took place in the 8th year of the Hijrah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In this battle, the companions were sent to the areas of Sham to face battle the Roman Empire. When this battle was going to take place, the Roman armies are in thousands. The Muslim army is small number. Abdullah bin Rawaha radiallahu anhu, he starts to encourage the companions that what you're starting to feel shaken in your place, your fear is shaking you from being steadfast, the fear of death, that's exactly what you came for. That's exactly what you came for, to be martyred in the path of Allah. They went out and they fought in the path. Zayd ibn Haritha radiallahu anhu was the Amir of this army. And the Rasul ﷺ was sitting in the Masjid, and he was sitting on the pulpit, and he told the companions to gather, and Jibreel ﷺ was telling him of every moment of what was taking place within that battle. And so Jibreel ﷺ tells him, Zayd ibn Haritha has taken the flag. And the Rasul is narrating to them, sitting in Medina Munawwara, what is taking place in the land of Mu'tah. And then he becomes silent and he says, seek forgiveness for your brother Zayd ibn Haritha. He has been martyred in the path of Allah. After which Abdullah bin Rawaha, after which Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, he takes the flag. And then when he goes, Rasulullah ﷺ says that shaitan came to him and started to tell him, you're going to give your life for the sake of Allah? You're going to give your life? This is all you have? This is everything? And he says, this is not what I have been told. This is not everything. And in the heat of that moment, to be able to face eye to eye with death and then to out of joy say poetry, he says, Ya habbadha al-jannatu waqtirabuha baridatan wa tayyibatan sharabuha. That, oh, the joys of paradise, They didn't see the battle in front of them. They saw what was beyond it. This is why the Muslim is the true liberator of himself. He frees himself from the chains of this world because he believes in what is beyond it. After which he's martyred. Abdullah bin Rawaha radiallahu anhu also takes the flag. Shaitan comes to him, tries to give him the desire, manipulate him, that retreat. He says, Ya nafsu, aqsamtu ya nafsi la tanzilinna ta'i'atan aw la tukrahinna. That I have sweared, O my soul, that you will have to exit this terminal, whether you wish or not. You will have to enter this door, whether you wish or not. إِلَّا تُقْتَلِي تَمُوتِ هَذَا حَمَامُ الْمَوْتِ قَدْ صُلِّيتِ. That this is the platform of death. This world is the platform of death. Jalaluddin al-Rumi rahimahullah said, every time you see a calamity, every time you see sickness, that's the threat of death reminding you. Right? A writer within the New York Times, and these are not believers, and even they're saying it, the discomfort which the youth have been placed in because of COVID, having to face what they don't want to face, death. Who wants to think of death when they're young? But the Rasul ﷺ gave us a platform on how we must think of it, how we must remember it, and how that will navigate how we deal with ourselves in this world. The implications of believing in death in the hereafter are great. And that is what the point of today is. That is what I'm trying to guide myself and everyone to. That the implications of death and the hereafter are of much benefit for the human being within this world. It even has a social effect. It even has a social effect upon the people. Why do something beneficial for another person? In the materialistic age that we live in, right? Every person wants a return. You do things for people, seeing what is the return I'm going to get from this person. What's the return? Islam has given a level of morality that do good for people and do not wait for the thanks. Rather, do not desire the thanks from that person. That doesn't mean saying thanks is not a good thing. You say thanks, it's the common courtesy. Right? But if you do something good for a person, don't wait on the input and the output of this world. Allah Ta'ala speaks of the people of Jannah, and He says, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا. That these people of Jannah, they feed the people, they're socially active. And then what do they say? إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. We feed you for the sake of Allah. I call my relative, I attach the bond, he doesn't answer. Why should that disappoint me? I'm good to my relatives, they're not good back. Why should that disappoint me? I didn't do that for them to begin with. I did that for the sake of Allah. That level of morality will push you and drive you to be continuous in your social benefit. Even when you might be disappointed. Because what? We do not desire a recompense in this world. We do not desire shukra. We do not desire things in this world. We desire it from Allah in the hereafter. We desire the things from Allah in the hereafter. And so it is very important that every old person and every young person within this materialistic age always keep in front of them the hereafter, so that the hereafter be what navigate them to how they should live, the choices that they make in this world. This is why the Rasul ﷺ, when speaking of action, mentioned the hereafter. مَنْ كَانَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَلَا يُؤْذِي جَارًا. Who believes in this world, who believes in the world of the hereafter, he shouldn't harm his neighbor. What does harming the neighbor have to do with the hereafter? You will have to pay up the debt of your harm caused to the people in this world and the hereafter. The Rasul said, the same way people come to argue with each other in courts in this world to settle for justice, is the same way they will come in front of Allah and they will ask for justice. And that to the degree that an animal which harmed another animal will have to come forward in front of Allah, and that justice will be established. Who believes in the hereafter, he should not say anything evil, rather he should stay silent. Because Your sayings, your statements, your actions, they're all being recorded, and you will be recompensed in the hereafter. This is the importance of believing in the hereafter and making the hereafter the platform upon which you decide your worldviews. You decide your worldviews of what you want to make of yourself in the hereafter. May Allah Ta'ala affirm our yaqeen in the hereafter and give us the capability to prepare for it. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. عباد الله، إن الله قد أمركم بأمر بدأ فيه بنفسه وثنى به الملائكة المسبحة بقدسه وثلث بكم أيها المؤمنون حيث قال إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد بعدد من صلى وصام. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد بعدد من قعد وقام. وصل على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى الملائكة المقربين وعلى عباد الله الصالحين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. ولذكر الله تعالى أعلى وأولى وأعز وأجل وأتم وأهم وأكبر. أقم الصلاة.